Hello, Dr. Rivera.
Hi, Dr. Tony.
I'm so glad to be here because you've been a staff physician at Hope4Cancer Treatment Centers and practice what we develop over the years, the 7 key principles to cancer therapy. And today we're going to talk about one of them, which is oxygenation. And when we hear oxygenation, the first phrase that comes to my mind is oxidative stress. So defining oxidative stress is when the cells in our body have less oxygen. This is creating a poor cellular health. And some of the things that cause oxidative stress is environmental toxins, stress, negative emotions. And I'm sure that if we can reverse the damage caused by oxidative stress, we could shift that malignant pattern that Dr. Otto Warburg described in the 30s and 40s. Can you reference some of Otto Warburg's work?
Yes, he stated that acidic environment and hypoxia or low oxygen will be the best environment for cancer cells to proliferate. This is one of the most important things that he discovered, and this is the reason why he won a Nobel Prize. This is nothing new. We know that there's always a mitochondrial disruption that produces this change of the cell. This metabolic change goes from aerobic metabolism to anaerobic or glycolytic metabolism. This is what you were just mentioning.
Okay, so cancer cells don't like oxygen. They're anaerobic. They go through this fermentation process to produce their ATP, but it's really an inefficient battery or inefficient machine, whereas cancer cells use glucose to produce ATP in an aerobic process, which is much more efficient. So really, cancer cells are survival organisms. They like that terrain of low oxygen. They like that terrain of acidity, right, that we mentioned in the glycolysis process. And so at Hope4Cancer, we tackle this low oxygen at the cell level and in the tumor environment in different ways. One of them is with hyperbaric oxygen. I know that there's been several studies on hyperbaric oxygen and its effect on cancer cells.
Yeah, one of the most important ones that I found, it is related to a meta-analysis from 2006 through 2016. In this study, they stated that instead of having a reverse effect on the cancer cells, we can change that angiogenesis, that environment, just by giving the patients a higher concentration of oxygen.
So you're saying that with this meta-analysis of 10 years, so it must have been a lot of patients, right, who received hyperbaric oxygen chamber, and that study showed that when they got this oxygen therapy, cancer cells were less prone to proliferate and to form more blood supply.
Blood supply, and at the end, they will be less aggressive, so less possibility of metastasis as well.
Okay, that's important because if we have that, then before that, we probably have less inflammation. We drive the programmed cell death of the cancer called apoptosis when we have more oxygen stores.
Yeah, what we want at the end is to shift again from anaerobic metabolism to aerobic metabolism and change again the environment of the cell from being acidic to basic again.
And how do you see this presenting in our patients at Hope4Cancer? Because a lot of the patients we work with at our clinic are tired, they're fatigued because they've had a lot of aggressive therapies. You see this quite often?
Yes, and also these symptoms are related to hypoxia or low oxygen. Fatigue, anemia, and lack of energy are one of the most common symptoms of the patients in the clinic.
And I could tell you that I feel the same way from a personal perspective because I do hyperbaric oxygen treatments regularly, and after that I feel more energetic, I could think clearer, my concentration, my focus is better. So we know that our body can survive months without food. We can survive a long time without water. But without oxygen, we could only survive several minutes, right? So the fundamental aspect of these key principles oxygenation is unique to the vitality and the life of the cell, right? So the cells that make tissues, that make organs, that ultimately protect our cells every day. With respect to ozone therapy as another powerful oxygen therapy.
This treatment can be provided intravenously or rectally, and it will provide increased oxygenation in the 30 minutes after the treatment.
So we typically detox the patient, the lower bowels, and the liver and the gallbladder with a coffee enema, and then we follow that with rectal ozone. How powerful is that, right? When we're combining different key principles to have synergistic effect. Detox, because we said that environmental toxins, stress, and negative emotions, colon, sluggishness of the colon, increases oxidative stress. So then we detox, and then we follow with ozone therapy. That's beautiful. And what have you seen with patients? Do you see that they have any side effects or any complaints with these oxygen therapies?
In the years of my experience at the clinic, there hasn't been any side effect. Patients can tolerate these very well, and the good thing is that they want to continue this once they go back at home. So they're trying to get a hyperbaric machine or an ozone generator to continue with these therapies.
When we look at another key principle, non-toxic cancer therapies, where we provide sonophotodynamic therapy, PDT+, oxygen therapies will enhance the benefit of those therapies. So giving light energy in the form of laser lights, red light, blue light, green light, yellow light in particular, increases oxygen storage because we're upregulating mitochondrial function, we're increasing nitric oxide production, and we're increasing the ability of hemoglobin to grab onto the oxygen and increase the hemoglobin binding capacity of oxygen. What about, Dr. Rivera, going into more easier forms of doing oxygenation therapies?
We have good options. We can simply ask the patient or train the patient to do some respiratory exercises, but exercise as well can be just 30 minutes walking, hiking, or any kind of exercise that will provide oxygenation to the body.
Right. And live green foods, how important is that to provide oxygen with these nature, right?
Also, not only oxygen, but we can change the pH and go from acidic, that's the cause of the problem, and try to get it a little bit basic and back to the normal pH.
Any other studies that you could recall at this moment with respect to oxygenation, so we really understand the importance of this key principle?
Yes, there's a recent study from Harvard University where they look at the effects of chemotherapy and radiotherapy in conjunction with hyperbaric chamber oxygenation therapy. They discovered that oxygen reduces the rate of resistance to the chemo and to the radiation as well.
Okay, so now we're able to decrease fatigue, we're able to improve quality of life because the patients are not as tired, we're able to enhance hemoglobin. Most cancer patients are anemic because of the cancer process itself. And so I'd like to quote what Otto Warburg wrote back in the 30s and 40s, and he said, "When respiration disappears, life does not disappear, but the meaning of life disappears, and what remains are growing machines that destroy the body in which they grow." So quite a, a very powerful statement, and it points to the fact that, oxygen therapy should and is one of the key principles at Hope for Cancer. And I'd like to thank you, Dr. Rivera, for being here and sharing with us how important oxygenation is for our health and our recovery.
Thank you.